Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center and Medi-Spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org. Edina Eye Physicians and Surgeons, a division of Twin Cities Eye Consultants, has proudly served the Twin Cities for more than 55 years now in 7 convenient locations. Using the most advanced technology combined with human touch, Edina Eye offers comprehensive services and dedicated specialists committed to excellence with innovative procedures and expertise for the most advanced eye care.
Good afternoon and welcome to Access to Democracy. My name is Peter Miller and I have the privilege for the second straight year of talking with Dave St. Peter, the president of the Minnesota Twins. David, always a pleasure to see you and thanks for coming in today.
Good to see you again, Peter.
It's a pleasure. Busy off season, I'm guessing, this year. I'm watching as a fan and seeing what's been going on. And it's almost too fast and furious to keep track of. You guys must have had quite a little fluster of activity there for a while.
Yeah, we knew coming off of the 2021 season, as a year that did not go as expected. We had high hopes and failed to meet those expectations across every area, and knew that 2022 was a year where we needed to take a step forward, hopefully back towards postseason contention and ultimately postseason play. The offseason was really broken into 2 different parts. The first part, which we ended up being able to sign Byron Buxton to a long-term extension, I thought was really significant.
Amazing.
Unfortunately, we dealt with the Major League Baseball Players Association work stoppage, which started on December 1st and ran through March 10th. And then you had the second part of the offseason from March 10th until opening day on April 8th, and obviously we got busy. We got busy in remaking our team. The ability to bring Carlos Correa to Minnesota was a significant part of that. The trade with the Yankees that brought Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez to Minnesota, signing Sonny Gray, Chris Archer as starting pitchers. Our club looks a lot different today than it did back in 2021, and we're excited about the potential this team will have to not just compete in the American League Central, but hopefully put us in a position to make a run in October.
Well, that would be tremendous. As a Twins fan, it's been fascinating to watch. Were you concerned at any point with the work stoppage that this was going to turn into one of these long, drawn-out? I mean, from an insider's point of view, as a fan watching, for a while there, it didn't look like there was going to be any baseball this year.
Yeah. I've been in the game a long time, and I've certainly experienced some work stoppages, including the famed 1994-95 work stoppage, which resulted in the loss of the World Series.
Right.
So anytime you have those types of labor disputes, you're not really certain how they're going to play out. That being said, really dating back to 94-95, Major League Baseball's had the longest run of continuing labor peace relative to not losing regular season games, and that will continue. Thankfully, a deal did emerge.
Sure.
And this commissioner, Rob Manfred, has a history of making deals. I think the Player Association ultimately wanted to get a deal done. So we were always, I think, fairly optimistic that a deal would emerge. Thankfully it came in time to salvage a full 162-game season.
Exactly. Yeah. No. At one point we were wondering if it's going to be kind of a repeat of the pandemic year, where we're going to play 60 or 80 games, and as a fan, I mean, I want to see 162 games.
No doubt. I do think the agreement will actually be looked at favorably in terms of the historical context that people will look back on this agreement. I think it's going to propel the game forward in all kinds of great ways. I think the rule changes that are going to come from this agreement starting in 2023, I think are going to change the game in a positive way. I think the way the schedule is going to change starting in 2023. I think that's going to be a benefit. The universal DH, the expanded postseason, certainly some of the international marketing initiatives that are part of this agreement. I'm excited about the ability for us as teams to have more alignment with our players to grow the game of baseball, and something that we're all very passionate about.
Well, that sounds great. I have a couple questions for you regarding the beginning of your off season. Now, after last year, as you said, you knew it was time we're going to have to kind of rewrite the script here.
Yep.
Did you plan on going to the level that you did? Because this is almost a complete makeover of the team from last year. We've got a few great players left from Kepler and Polanco, and of course keeping Buxton, which was huge. I mean, he's when he's healthy, he's the best player in baseball. I personally think. But did you plan on going to the level that you did? Was the script all along? Or?
You certainly could envision some wholesale changes, but I'm not sure any of us ever expected that we'd be in a position to maybe bring the game's top free agent, Carlos Correa, to Minnesota. So, Derek Falvey and Thad Levine, since they've been in Minnesota, have a proven track record, I think, of being, one, patient, and two, being opportunistic. And I think that's what was required relative to the makeup of this team. Again, the goal here was to put us in a position to get back into contention in 2022. At the same time, that goal was to try to prevent doing harm to the future of our franchise, meaning really disrupting the talent pipeline that we feel really good about, particularly young pitching that is at AA and at the AAA levels. And thankfully, for the most part, we were able to do that. That young pitching is intact. A number of young position players still in the Twin system, whether it be Miranda, whether it be Martin, whether it be Lewis, and others. And yet we still now have a veteran-laden 2022 team. I think that really bodes well for the future. And when I think about us, I think hopefully this is the start in 2022 of another period of sustained success.
We can only hope so. Some of that young pitching is already up. I was looking at the roster last night, and you've got half your bullpen are young, hard-throwing. Duran, Widner, Joe Ryan. These guys, I think they were all homegrown, if I remember correctly.
Well, Joe Ryan came to us in the trade for Nelson Cruz last year. Bailey Ober also in the starting rotation as a homegrown talent. But then in the bullpen, Duran came from a trade. But there's a number of other young pitchers that are homegrown. And look, young pitching is playing a much more prominent role around Major League Baseball. It's no different here in Minnesota. The key to our success over the long term is the ability to develop young pitching, whether we acquire that pitching in the draft, whether we secure them in the international market, or ultimately acquire them via trade. It doesn't matter to us. We're agnostic on that front. But having the ability to take those pitchers and develop them to get to the major leagues as productive major league starters or major league relievers, that to me is what ultimately how we will be held accountable. And I like the trajectory that we're on. I think we're seeing nice improvement there, and it'll be central to the success we have in 2022.
And I'm assuming that you have some AAA starting pitching in the pipeline, but I mean, you've assembled an entire new rotation since last year. Sonny Gray, Dylan Bundy, Chris Archer. These are all guys with a track record, really good track record when they've been healthy. What's coming up behind them that you can see stepping in?
Well, obviously Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober are part of that staff. They're young guys. We have a lot of excitement around Josh Winder, who's on the major league staff right now.
He's in the bullpen.
But he's going to in the bullpen. He's going to be a starter. When you look to AAA, there's certainly a number of arms, whether it be Cole Sands, Simeon Woods Richardson's at AA right now. Jordan Belazovic is on his way now to AAA. A young man that's very highly thought of in our system. So Matt Cantarino, there's a number of others that I could mention. So we're really bullish about the future in terms of starting pitching. We think we have the proper amount of depth. there's a saying that the best way to find 2 or 3 great starting pitching prospects is to have 10 or 15 great starting pitching prospects. So it's a numbers game, and we feel like we finally have that depth and those numbers that ultimately is going to result in us producing the types of arms that are going to be required for us to compete at the major league level.
Are you satisfied with the bullpen the way it's currently constructed?
Yeah, I don't overthink bullpens, particularly on in early April. I think bullpens tend to be take maybe a while for people to figure out their roles. There's some jockeying going on early in the year. I think we have a really nice mix of veteran and young arms. I think ultimately, that'll kind of sort itself out. And if our starters are going deep enough into games, it gives us the benefit of hopefully having a bullpen that Rocco can mix and match and keep guys fresh. And then I would also just say, as we head into the middle part of the season, I think there will be opportunities for us to continue to enhance the bullpen, whether that be internally with young arms making their way to the big leagues, or even via the trade deadline. I think going into July, you're going to have another opportunity to add pitching here.
I see that. I was looking at salary caps last night, and you guys are right about the middle of the pack. I think you're 17th, right around the league average, maybe a little bit below it. So is there room come June, July, if we need somebody? Is there the room to try and?
Yeah, I mean, our ownership has been incredibly supportive of our efforts to push our team back towards contention. So that obviously has manifested itself over the off season. I don't expect that'll change here in the season, particularly when we see who might be available.
I'm going to go back to Carlos Correa for a minute. I went to the game Sunday, as I told you earlier, and I know he hit a home run into the stratosphere, third deck, left field, left center field. But the play that really impressed me was the relay throw where he nailed a runner from the Mariners at the plate. There's not many players in baseball that could have made that throw, and it was so lightning fast. I watched it on replay on the internet a few times. It was one motion. He's just a phenomenal all-around baseball player. Were you guys in on him from the very beginning, or did it kind of evolve after the move with the Rangers, where you traded Garver and got kind of Falafel?
Well, we've known of Carlos Correa for a long time. So when the off season started back last October, November, there was discussions about Carlos Correa and what it would take to get him and where that could fit for the Twins. Admittedly, I think we thought it was probably maybe out of our reach at that time. As we came back after the lockout, it was clear that maybe he was thinking about things differently, certainly in terms of a shorter term. And once that became very evident to us, we were aggressive. We went after it to try to make that happen. And I think that Carlos Correa is the type of guy that makes us better on the field because of the way he plays defense, maybe the best defensive shortstop in the game, the way he runs the bases, obviously what he can do with the bat, but then also what he does in the clubhouse. This is a guy who's a true leader and impacts the room in a lot of different ways, and we're already seeing that here in the early part of our season.
Were you surprised the Astros didn't make more of an effort to bring him back, or I guess that really you're looking at somebody else's wallet?
Yeah, we don't really analyze those things.
Yeah.
He had a nice run there. They won a lot of games.
Oh, they sure did.
I'm sure that
Pretty
both of
good
them
still
would have
this
their
year.
reasons, 100%, and we have a lot of respect for the Astros organization.
Yep.
We were really happy that Carlos, wanted to be a Twin. He loves our ballpark, loves our community, has a tremendous amount of appreciation for Rocco Baldelli, our manager.
Okay.
He was really excited to have a chance to play with Byron Buxton.
Sure.
So, I think for us, that also, speaks well of our franchise, our ownership, and ultimately our community.
Well, I think that goes back for years and years. I remember Torrey Hunter saying that, this was the greatest place to play professional baseball. This was, 20 years ago when he was here? And,
no doubt, no doubt. We've had a long history of having great players play here and ultimately become part of this community, raise their families here. And, Minnesota is a wonderful place to live. We all know that. Major League Baseball players who live here feel that same way.
And then also the climate is tremendous, so you can't beat these early April 28th.
Yeah, we all try to just kind of grin and bear that, but we're optimistic that spring is going to be here soon and followed shortly thereafter by summertime in Minnesota, which you can't find a better place to be.
Oh, absolutely. I love it up here. I'm here about 3 years now, and it's a phenomenal place to live. Any update on Alex Kirilloff? I know that he was going to get some more work done or look at his wrist.
Yeah, Alex has had a history of some wrist issues. He lost a lot of last season. The good news is that some of the issues he's experiencing are early. There's nothing structural. So, he's going to be back out there playing. We're going to get the inflammation kind of calmed down, but we have high hope for Alex Kirilloff to be a big contributor to our team here in 2022.
Yeah, no, he looks like a really good young player. And, well, at least we got Trevor Larnach back up, though.
Yeah,
So
yes, we
sometimes-
do. I mean, we have a lot of good young outfielders in our system. And Trevor Larnach's a guy, that, again, a high draft pick for us out of Oregon State. And somebody that we think is going to impact us at the big league level. And you're going to see him, Kyle Garlick. I think you'll see others over the course of the 2022 season.
Who's the young outfielder Celestino?
Guy we got in a trade, I think, with Houston back a few years ago. Good young player, center fielder. We threw him into the fire last year, probably long before he was ready to play.
Okay.
But he's a guy that we think is going to be a really good big league player. He's still very young.
Right.
And, we ultimately have him on our roster right now just to create some additional outfield depth based on the fact that we get 28 roster spots to play with for the first month of the season.
So when you guys made the trade with the Rangers, and you picked up a very good defensive shortstop by the name of Kiner Falefa,
Yes.
was he ever in the plans here, or did you already have? I have to ask.
Yeah, no, I mean, when we traded Mitch Garver, who's, somebody we thought very highly of.
Sure.
I mean, he was a Silver Slugger, winning catcher, big part of our clubhouse, very popular with our fans and in the community. We thought we ultimately were getting our shortstop for the future.
Right.
In kind of Falefa, and ultimately that deal was made before the discussions with the Yankees really escalated to a point where it was pretty clear that they really wanted Josh Donaldson, and as part of that trade, they also wanted a shortstop. So the idea to bring Urshela and Sanchez back was really interesting to us.
Sure.
Gave us some additional payroll flexibility, which ultimately resulted in our ability to bring Carlos Correa to Minnesota.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering, if there was if one was already sort of in the pocket when the other one was all a
I
moving.
mean, I wish I could tell you that it was that smooth, but it wasn't,
okay.
and there were some bits and times of, I think, some anxiety between those trades, between those acquisitions, but it worked out, and at the end of the day, I think the Twins are a better team,
Oh, sure.
Today than we were prior to making those moves.
Well, I mean, Urshela he's a gamer. I mean, he became a fan favorite in New York, and this is a guy that was not highly regarded when he was with the Cleveland way back in the day. Very good defensive player, but all of a sudden the kid started hitting.
Yeah.
I think that the fans are going to really like seeing him play. He's one of those guys get your uniform dirty kind of players, and does everything well.
Yeah, Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez both are proven winners. They've won a lot of games with the Yankees. They've competed in postseason games, won postseason series. Gio Urshela is somebody that we think makes our team better. So you're right. He's very gifted defensively at third base.
Sure.
We don't miss a beat sliding him in after losing Josh Donaldson. And he's going to hit. We've already seen that early in the season. So we're happy to have him on our club.
I think your whole team can hit. From what I'm looking at it,
That's the hope.
Yeah.
You never know how it's going to play out. We obviously are starting the season a little slower offensively than what we had wanted, but it's early. The weather hasn't been great. I think you want to get into a season 40 or 50 games, as Tom Kelly used to say, and that'll give you a better assessment of what kind of club you have.
Okay. Going forward, you have a great nucleus of veterans and some really young players. What's the next generation that you're looking forward to seeing coming up here? Who are the next few players? I know Royce Lewis.
Well, I mentioned Royce Lewis is with St. Paul. Austin Martin is a guy we got in the Barrios deal last July from the Toronto Blue Jays. We like him a lot. Obviously, you mentioned Kirilloff, you mentioned Larnach. Those guys are very much in the mix. There's a number of Spencer Steer. There's a number of other kind of higher level prospects. The good news is most of our young prospects are pitching prospects, and that to me is what really excites me about the future. And whether it be Winder or Cantorino or Simeon Woods Richardson, I'm highly optimistic we're going to have a major league rotation that's going to be generally homegrown and really ready to sustain a period of success here for the Twins.
And mix a few in veterans to kind of lead the way for
as needed, as necessary. Right. But it's nice to, for example, even going into next offseason when we know we're going to have Ryan and Ober, Winder, we know we're going to have Sonny Gray back if we want him. We're going to be getting Kenta Maeda back. We're going to have Chris Paddock back. It's nice to go into an offseason where you don't really need to fortify the starting rotation, and we can invest and focus our attentions elsewhere.
I read about Maeda today. He thinks he's going to pitch before the end of the year.
Yeah, we think he will. And here's a guy that finished runner-up in the Cy Young race just a couple years ago. He's a big-time pitcher. Again, a guy that's pitched in big spots for the Dodgers as well as for us. And
is he signed beyond this year?
Yes, we have him for another couple years.
Okay, that's good to have.
No doubt. We're excited about getting Kenta back.
I would think so. Well, it's been very exciting to watch this from as a spectator from afar. It seemed like after last season, it was like this team. I don't know what to think about it because we were so good 2 years ago, and last year was such a tough season. It was just every time I turned on the internet, every time I turned on Sports Center, you guys were involved in another flurry of activity. It was fascinating to watch, and I hope it continues. It's been really fun from a fan's point of view, and I hope that we have the season that we had 2 years ago. I think that.
Well, that's certainly the goal.
Right.
Again, a year ago in 2021, we were picked by a lot of the experts to go to the World Series. Right. It didn't work out that way. We had a tough season. Really frustrating for fans. Really frustrating for our players. I can assure you, nobody was more anxiety-ridden over that than our manager and our coaches and our front office. But that's the beauty of baseball. It's the ultimate in reality programming.
Sure.
And I'm excited for a new season. I think we have a team that's going to be competitive. They're going to be fun to watch. And the goal here is to put ourselves into a position in the month of September. We're playing relevant baseball.
Sure.
Hopefully charging towards the postseason, and we find a way to get into postseason and do some actual damage in the month of October.
Very tough division this year. Everybody seems to be on the White Sox. We already know how good they are. You guys are going to be a lot better. Kansas City is going to be a lot better. Detroit, out of nowhere, this team.
And don't forget about Cleveland. Cleveland's going to pitch. They're going to pitch at a very high level. They still have Shane Bieber.
Yeah.
They still have Plesac. They still have Savali.
Right.
They've got the young kid Ramirez at third base. So Cleveland's going to be better. The division is going to be better. I agree with that. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be fun to watch and see kind of how these teams shake out over the course of time.
This year, there's an extra wild card this year?
A couple extra wild card spots.
Oh, two in each division?
Yep.
Okay.
2 in each league.
So altogether, that's 7?
So 7 teams make the playoffs in each league, correct.
So that's going to be exciting. I wasn't a big fan of these expanded playoffs when I first heard about it, but after watching the excitement of the last couple of years since it started, it's been great theory.
Yeah, we had it here in 2020 when we won the division, and I thought it was great. I thought that the first few days of the playoffs, with all these playoff games going on, it felt a little bit like March Madness. I think it's good for our sport. I believe that we got it right with 14 instead of there was some talk of maybe a 16 team. Right. I think 14 is going to be the right number.
Does it expand after that next year?
No, it'll be at 14 throughout this CBA. Okay. And I'm excited about having a chance to compete for those spots.
One of the things I'm most excited about, they're getting rid of the shift next year?
Well, possibly. I mean, that's one of the rules that the commissioner's looking at. They're testing it in the minor leagues.
I hope so.
I think there's 3 rules that are probably at the top of the heap for discussion that a special committee will ultimately decide. One is going to be the pitch clock. Okay. Which is certainly working in minor league baseball.
Sure.
2 is going to be some type of regulation on shifts, which we also think is working across the minor leagues. And then the 3rd one is going to be expansion, bigger bases, which are somewhat as a health and safety thing for players, but also aimed at trying to encourage more stolen bases.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'd
Yes.
love to see a little bit of small ball come back. Are you guys using this new?
Yes.
You are. And
PitchCom.
And what's the consensus between the pitchers and?
Well, it's new technology the catchers wear, and they can signal to the pitcher who wears basically a microphone or a speaker in his hat
Right.
that tells him that it's going to be okay, fastball away, curveball up, whatever the pitch might be, and we think it's great.
Interesting.
We think it certainly mitigates sign stealing from runners that are out on second base and other video and things of that nature, which we know has been going on in our game. And I think it's a good example of technology moving us forward.
Anything? I want to thank you for your time. A pleasure to have you here. This is the 15th year in a row. I think they're going to change the name to Access to Dave going forward, but that's just a rumor at this point. But
Yeah.
Dave, thanks so much for coming in and allowing me a half an hour of your time.
It's an honor to be here. We appreciate your support. Come out and see us at a ball game this year.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thanks.